You're listening to TGI Sports Talk with your host, Keith Angle, on Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good morning, everybody. Keith Angle for TGI Sports Talk, live from East Greenbush, New York, right here on the Northeast Streaming Sports Network, as you heard earlier. Real quick, to the groups I share this to, just a reminder, there'll be content that is relevant to your group. So please, to the admins, if there's any problems, contact me. You guys have been very supportive. We've been getting thousands. I mean, our Sunday shows have really popped up in viewership. The interview shows have carried the viewership. And the followers are starting to really grow the last month too. So thank you for all of that. And I appreciate it. It's a chilly day here in East Greenbush. If you're in the Northeast, it's chilly wherever you are. Wind chills below the 0 today. So hope you're warm. Stoke up the fire. Which picture is better, the real picture or the mug picture? At least I'm in the summertime there, right? Guys, today we got big show. We got a lot to chat about. We got the football games coming up, championship games, Green Bay against Tampa Bay, Kansas City and Buffalo. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the coaching hires this week, some other news in the NFL. We'll also cover some Major League Baseball news. Be pretty quick there, I think, today. We'll have a more significant baseball show coming up in the near term. We'll also chat a little about the NBA, and we'll jump into college basketball a little bit today too. I want to jump around the standing or the rankings and the leagues a little bit and talk about some surprises, both good and bad. Before I get started today, I wanted to mention Friday's sad passing of Henry Aaron. This isn't the baseball section of our show, but we'll start with Henry Aaron, as I don't see any other way to not do that. Excuse me. I did a vlog yesterday about Henry Aaron and about some of the other greats that we've lost recently. It's been a tough year. I think 10 or 11 Hall of Famers have passed in the last year. Henry Aaron's just the latest. I'm not going to go down the list. Watch the vlog. It was a fairly comprehensive list. I'm sure I missed people. I realized when I got done, I forgot to mention Al Kaline, for instance. But, not just Hall of Famers, but a lot of the people that I grew up watching have passed. And a little bit of my childhood has been, passing along with them, part of me. So I talk a lot about it in the vlog. So check it out. But Henry Aaron, I do need to touch on Henry Aaron here again today. Henry Aaron is one of the most courageous individuals that I have come across in the world of sports in my 60 years. What he did in the 70s, and I'll talk about it in the vlog as well. I didn't realize the magnitude of what was happening. I was watching a man chasing a home run record at 13 years old, going on 14 in April of 1974. I didn't know what he was going through. I didn't realize the hate that was thrown at this man almost everywhere he went. A black man from the Deep South trying to break a white man's record. It had held not just any white man, but Babe Ruth, the greatest player that ever played the game. The biggest name that ever played the game, for sure. So he went through a lot. He persevered, and man, hate mail, death threats. Just an amazing, amazing individual to be able to persevere through that, not have a nervous breakdown or worse. Through time, it's just grown more important to me, more significant to me, the things that he did. He was not just a great ball player. He was a great man and a great person. So our condolences to the Aaron family, the Braves organization, and, we'll talk more about this. I'm going to have a show on actually Friday. I'd have Tom Keegan, sports writer, coming on who'd done a great piece on Tommy Lasorda's passing recently. We were going to get together and talk about Tommy Lasorda. And I also realized that he had some insight on Dick Allen, who's one of my somebody I wanted to have some conversations about on my Friday interview show. We found a great niche with these nostalgic type shows on Fridays. So we're going to do current event stuff, but we found a great niche with these nostalgic shows. So we decided to expand it to Dick Allen, who I think is one of the most misunderstood, and it's unbelievable to me that he's not in the Hall of Fame. And also, we'll be talking now about Henry Aaron as well. Good morning, Mark Robertshaw, by the way. Good morning, anybody else who's in the room live and hasn't spoken up yet. What else is going on, guys? I just found a pen. We're going to talk about the NFL. Let's start right off the bat. See how long I keep playing this music without getting cut off the air. NFC, AFC Championship Sunday. What a great day for football, right? It's a little unfortunate they moved the games back as late as they have in recent years, but it's still a great week. It's exciting. We've got two awesome matchups in Kansas City. Mahomes is playing. Healthy is a different word, which we'll get into. And we've got Green Bay, the Battle of the Bays, Green Bay and Tampa Bay. Brady against Rodgers, two of the best to ever play the game. I mean, it's got to be one of the, and again, I haven't looked back through the history books, of course, but this has got to be one of the most prolific quarterback matchups in championship game history. Hey, Mahomes and Brady was great, right? But Mahomes wasn't, he was still a kid. Still a kid. But today we jump in with, and we'll review our playoff standings after we do this as well. Good morning, Bill Pulver. Good morning, Rick Sherlock. Good to see you guys. The Pulverizer is in the room. And Watson. These guys byplay is a lot of fun during the course of the game. So, or during the course of the show. It is a game sometimes. But I appreciate it, and I like the banter, so keep it up. It'll be 79 today in Florida. Unfortunately, it'll be 30 degrees in Green Bay. So let's start with Green Bay and Tampa Bay. Whoa! Green Bay and Tampa Bay. The Battle of the Bays. Aaron against Tommy. Rodgers only in here this game, I think, for the third time in his career, maybe fourth. But Tom Brady's making his 14th appearance. He's 9-4. He's gone to 9 Super Bowls. This will never happen again, guys. So great motivation for Tom Brady. Great motivation for Aaron Rodgers. This could be his last shot. Could be Brady's last shot. But Rodgers really needs that second. Oh, he doesn't need it. He's a Hall of Famer. He's a no-brainer, right? But I think to really secure his legacy, with the Bradys and the Montanas, he needs that second Super Bowl win, I think. Great player. Doesn't mean he wasn't a great player. Dan Marino was a tremendous player, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. One of the best quarterbacks of all time. Maybe there's a difference between GOAT and BOAT. Best of all time. Aaron Rodgers is definitely one of the best of all time. And I'm not going to be commenting anymore on Tom Brady and football. So not during this show. Let's concentrate on the football game, guys. You got a great football game in front of you. Don't focus on nonsense. So two of the greatest, well, at least one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, the greatest quarterback in all time in my mind. Look at 10 Super Bowls. If he gets there, 9 Super Bowls. Nobody's ever going to touch this record, guys. And don't tell me about the ones he lost, because he won 6. Nobody's done that either. But it's an important game for Aaron Rodgers as well. He's never played an NFC Championship game at home. Big chance for Aaron Rodgers. Now, they probably played their worst game of the year. And I know they lost 3 games, but their worst game they played was against Tampa, in Tampa, back in whatever, November, October. I don't remember the date. But it's irrelevant. They got beat 38-10, probably Tampa's best defensive effort of the year. And the worst effort from Rodgers. The worst effort from Rodgers. So, while Brady, while Billy Pulver wants to concentrate on, the anti-Brady talk, let him enjoy it. As a Jet fan, I can understand his frustration. It's got to be difficult to be a Jet fan all those years and watching Tom Brady put ring after ring after ring on his hand. Anyway, worst game of Rodgers' season. Rodgers had a phenomenal season, but that day he threw 2 interceptions, one for a pick 6, was sacked 4 times. I'll tell you right now, I do not see Tampa playing that good on defense today, and I don't see Rodgers being anything but great today. The weather's not going to be awful, but it's going to be 30 degrees. Light wind, sideline to sideline. People are going to say, well, Brady played his whole career playing playoff games like that in New England. Won't affect him. Well, I don't disagree, but he's got a team full of teammates who have not played in these types of conditions that often. Gronk has. But Gronk's not a big part of that offense. So I think the advantage here, obviously, this is a big home field advantage in my mind for the Packers. If you watched the games last weekend and heard the noise, the few fans in the stands were making, it was loud. And these guys, I think, had motivated them too to have fans in the stadium for the first time, I think, in Green Bay. And they'll be there again today. 9,000 fans. So 2 legendary quarterbacks they get to see in one of the great games of all time. Charles Haley played in the most Super Bowls. Trying to count up the number. How many was it, Rick? And Charles Haley did it with at least 2 different teams, right? So, and Charles Haley, by the way, great player. Great player. Played on some of the great teams, and we'll talk about a little bit. I'm not going to run down all the teams that have been to 3 straight championship games, conference championship games, because there's a lot, but we're going to talk a little bit about it when we get to the next game. But this game, to me, a lot of it comes down to the Packers' offensive line against the defensive line of the Buccaneers. Somebody's going to have to run the football well here to win. I don't think the Buccaneers are going to be able to run the ball as they did in the first matchup, and as they may have a little bit in the playoffs against Green Bay. Green Bay's really playing good defense. As I said, the Buccaneers have been very up and down on defense, and the game against the Packers at home was probably their best effort of the year, but I don't see that as being, as really reflective of the Packers season. They've had a great season. These are 2 good teams. One great team, one really good team. It'd be easy for me as a Tom Brady fan to just pick Tampa Bay. But I think Rodgers, with the motivation that he has here, again, I don't think he cares about avenging a loss to, week whatever to Tampa Bay. That's not really going to be a big factor in this game. But he wants that second Super Bowl. He's playing his first NFC Championship game at home. All these things are huge factors. Plus, you factor in the fact, correct, Mark. Mark points out Rodgers 1-3 in NFC Championship games. Not one of those games has he played at home. Let's remember that. Not one. And for you guys who think it's not important, it's important today with Tampa Bay going to 30-degree Green Bay. Good football weather. Shouldn't affect really the play of the game. But some of these guys from Tampa have been playing, indoors and in the South and in domes all year. It's going to make a difference. Billy prefers Brady over Rodgers. Well, that's news. I prefer Brady. Here's the thing. I just mentioned earlier, I think there's a difference between goats and boats. And I think, Rodgers is one of the boats of all time, best of all time. Dan Marino was a great quarterback. I started down this path a second ago. I think I got distracted. Who's going to deny that Dan Marino, one of the best quarterbacks of all time, but he's not one of the greatest because he never won a Super Bowl. Made it to one. Thought we'd be back forever. Yeah, Rick, I thought you might have been a little off there, by the way. Rick is now calling Haley in 5 Super Bowls. I didn't think it was more than 9, but without looking at, I wasn't going to mention it. So thank you for correcting that, Rick. So, there's nothing wrong. I mean, I know a person pretty well who's a big Green Bay fan. Hates Aaron Rodgers. I don't know how I hate Aaron Rodgers. The man is a great football player. One of the best quarterbacks of all time. Makes plays that I've never seen made except for Patrick Mahomes now. Yeah, let's not get too much wrapped up in 219 and 64 with Brady. This isn't about Bill Belichick and Brady today. It's about Brady. Bill, I can't let these comments just pass, right? There's something you need to remember about Bill Belichick's coaching career without Tom Brady. We all know about this year, right? No quarterback, no weapons. They sold out for the last 5 years. Now you got me talking about the Patriots. So, you guys get mad at me when I go down this road, but you bring up the questions and I'm not just going to let them hang out there. You guys like to knock Belichick because of the year he had this year and the year Brady had. Well, Brady didn't have a Tom Brady year. He had a really good year. Just the facts, Bill. I'm giving you facts right now. If you hold on a second. Good point. Drew brings up Fournette didn't play in week 6, but let me concentrate on this whole Bill Belichick, Tom Brady thing one last time. We all know what happened this year. If you think things would have been that much different in New England this year with Brady there, you're crazy. The only other year that he had a down year, by the way, Bill, you can put the total numbers up, but they don't give you perspective. He went 11-5 without Tom Brady in 2008, I think was the year. Lost him in the first quarter, the first game. Went 11-5. Didn't make the playoffs, but he didn't make it with 11 wins. His first year in New England, he was saddled with an aging Drew Bledsoe. I love Drew Bledsoe, but he wasn't a championship quarterback. And he was just in the midst of turning the team around. He went 5-11. First year. We know what happened from that year on for 20 years. Okay. Was Tom Brady a big part of that? Yes. Was he the only part of that? Nope. And now let's go back to before then. Cleveland. He went to a horrible Cleveland team. Had a bad year his first year as he rebuilt the team. Took them to the playoffs for the first time in however many years. Beat Bill Parcells in the playoffs. And had a team on the rise. And that team on the rise was destroyed by the owner. Gosh. His name is slipping me now. I know Drew will come up with it. Oh, gosh. Such a famous name in football, and now I can't remember his name. But that the momentum he had built in Cleveland was destroyed when the owner announced he was going to move the team. Fans turned on everybody, including Belichick. So there's mitigating circumstances there. So let's not just lump numbers all together, and because I can make them say whatever I want. I work in sales. I can turn numbers and make a really good number look really bad with just a hey, my screen's off a little bit here. Sorry about that, guys. My studio had a little crack in it. No, not Ursay. Oh, God, isn't that awful? Ursay was the Colts. Somebody Google that. He's such a big name. I can't believe I can't remember it. He owned the Browns forever. Art Modell. So Art Modell was one of the big reasons for that. So, all right, here we go. Stream of consciousness has already begun. I'm off topic, talking about the Packers and the Bucks, and I start talking about Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. They're both the GOAT, in my mind, in their positions. End of story. They thrived off each other. I hope Tommy wins a Super Bowl. I don't care. I would love to see Tommy win a Super Bowl. I'm going to pick against him today just because of the factors. Got nothing to do with Tommy. It's got to do with the guys around him. I watched that game last week against New Orleans. Drew Brees played not well. He played badly. The Saints shot themselves in the foot right and left. Takes nothing away from Tampa Bay. They and again, it's hard to beat somebody 3 times in a year. We know that. It's happened, but Billy's not mad. I'm not mad either, Bill. I just get I'm passionate about the things that I believe in, and I like to just address things that I feel are, only my mind not accurate. Again, this is all my opinion. You can accept it or not accept it. Rick is obviously anybody but the Packers, excuse me, which is understandable. But look, I think given all the factors involved here, and again, I think it's a toss-up game. I think, a turnover here, turnover there, bad call here, bad call there, which, again, my feeling, don't let bad calls beat you. Will determine the outcome of this game. But I'm going to pick the Packers to win this game 27-23. Packers win. Go to the Super Bowl. Aaron Rodgers chasing number 2, which is kind of important to his legacy. It's going to be a great game. 3:05 today. Tune in for that one. Anything else I want to chat about in this topic? Guys, got anything else you want to talk about on this game? And take a look while I just kind of review my notes a little bit. Again, this is the first meeting that means anything for Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. Hard to believe over 20 years, 21 years. But these guys have not really played in an important game before. So it's some great storylines here, man. I'm excited about it. I'm excited about the game. I think it'll be a great game either way. If Tampa Bay goes to the Super Bowl with Tom, I won't be disappointed. But I will be all over Green Bay today, probably with a wager. Sorry, Rick. Tampa has their best game, but loses Super Bowl. So Billy's picking Tampa today. Mark, my boy Mark Mathewson is all in on Tampa Bay. If Tampa Bay wins the Super Bowl, he's going to win the playoff challenge. I'm sure of that. I think he can come back from where he is now. We'll look at those in a minute, guys. I think it's going to be an exciting game in Green Bay. Can't wait. Can't wait for these games to start. Game number 2. Maybe we'll play this one. Game number 2. Kansas City against Buffalo. Buffalo has not been in a championship game in, most of your kids' lifetimes. Some of your kids' lifetimes. Yeah, all good points. Kansas City, Buffalo. Mahomes is playing, cleared to play. How well will he play? He's got the concussion issues to worry about. Who knows how he'll take that first big hit? He's also got turf toe, which is, seemed to have been lost in the whole concussion thing. He hurt himself early in that game. Billy says KC shuts down quarterback scramble. I think it's a huge part of this game, guys, is whether Buffalo can run the ball. And I don't even think they're going to try to run the ball, to be honest with you, because they were atrocious at running the ball last week. They were atrocious running the football against Kansas City during the regular season. And again, that game is fairly meaningless at this point, but it does give us some insight. Excuse me if you hear me banging. I don't have my normal wireless mouse here. I had a little misplace of it last night, so I'm wired to my computer and it's giving me some problems. But, Buffalo needs to run the football to keep Kansas City off the field. Mahomes at 80% is the best quarterback in football still. Josh Allen's playing great football. The Bills are playing great football. They've won 8 in a row. By the way, Green Bay's 3.5 for those who are interested. I'm picking them. I'm going to be betting Green Bay today. I'm virtually certain. Could change my mind. Doubtful. And the Chiefs are a 3-point favorite. The over-under is 54. The over-under in the first game is 52. So the Bills need to run the football and keep Mahomes and team off the field. I don't see them doing it. They didn't run it against the Ravens. I mean, as well as the Bills are playing, I don't want to take anything away from the Bills. I really don't. They've played great, 8 wins in a row. Their defense, which was really bad early in the year, has improved greatly. But look at, don't forget that improvement has coincided with them playing the Steelers and I'm talking about their passing defense now has improved greatly. Those games came against San Francisco and New England and Pittsburgh and Indianapolis and Miami and Denver and teams that are in the lower half of passing efficiency in the NFL. That is an interesting point, Drew. I actually didn't even realize that. Both of these rematches were, I should say the first game of the rematch, or the series, was played on the same day, the same week. I don't think those games were the same day, though. I think wasn't the Chiefs and Buffalo on Monday night, I think. Might even have got moved with COVID. I'm not even sure this year, right? And the Chiefs won. The Chiefs did win the first matchup 27-16. They did contain the running game. Buffalo's without, some of their key running backs. They're keying heavily on oh gosh, what's your name? Isn't that awful? My mind is gone again, guys. Well, they're going to be keying heavily. Josh Allen is going to be carrying this offense today, running, throwing. He could beat Kansas City all by himself. If Mahomes gets hurt, is a non-factor, then all bets are off. If Mahomes hadn't played here, I'd have been all over Buffalo. But Mahomes is the deciding factor in this game, in my mind. One of the other key matchups is going to be Travis Kelce against Tremaine Edmonds. Kelce's just a tremendous weapon on the offense. Yeah, there's and here's the thing. Drew's talking about some of the running backs on Kansas City. Edwards, Hilaire is back. Bell's questionable, but gosh, they ran the ball well without those guys. Williams ran the ball well last week. They, when they needed to run the football some last week, they were doing it. And that was a great game. I got to give Chad Henne credit. And Andy Reid, right? That game was theirs out there to lose. The Browns were in position to win that game. And except for a fumble into the end zone, which is kind of a stupid rule, fumble the ball out of bounds at the 1, you get the ball at the 1. If you fumble it in the end zone, you lost the football. Yeah, it's kind of harsh penalty for that. But I know the reason for the rule was Dave Casper and the Holy Roller. But, I don't think 5-syllable words here. Oh, my gosh. I'm not using 5-syllable words. I mispronounced 2-syllable words. I'm the king of the malaprop, guys. Get used to it. I've talked about that through the entire length of this show. We're about, I've got about 60 shows. Oh, not 60. Well, I got a good 40 shows under my belt. Maybe more than that. Maybe it's in the 50s with my vlogs and whatnot. Guys, I'm going to make mistakes. I'm not infallible. I don't get paid for this. My malaprops are part of who I am anyway. Always will be. So anyway, I think the Chiefs win that matchup. Kelsey's, they find a way to get him in isolation. They find a way to get him open, and he's going to be a huge people. Mark had talked about matriculating the ball down the field, and Mark said not many people remember the Hank Stram reference. But actually, they will. Let me put up Mark's. I should have done this in order. So Mark talked about just matriculating down the field, boys. And Rick commented, not many people will remember. Well, most of the people that will view this show. And again, guys, thank you. Whoever's sharing this show and the groups that have allowed me to share it. These shows are catching up to the interview shows. We did like 4,000 views on a show either last week or the week before on a Sunday. So great job and thank you. And our demographic, Rick, to my point, is not the 20 and 30 years old. Rado comes on. Might be my youngest semi-regular viewer. He's in his mid-30s. But, guys, they're my age. They're our age, Rick, most of them. I can look at the demographics. I can look at a lot of stuff on Facebook. And it's interesting. We've got viewers all over the country. I've got viewers. Well, Billy mentioned his daughter watching in England, which I really appreciate. Thank you, Alicia. But I've got like 4 other viewers in England. And by the way, we just went on NESIP, the Northeast Streaming Sports Network. We just went live on a network in the UK. So a lot of exciting things going on with the Northeast Streaming Sports Network. And I'll talk more about that later. You do fantastically. Billy's showing his how well he can do multi-syllabic words. I stick with it and the as most as I can. Yeah, I think he probably knows, Drew. I think he probably knows it's not a word. Uh-oh. Almost close you guys out. See, I got this mouse I'm not used to using. The show ends early, guys. You'll know why. I'm trying to get these things up. Anyway, as far as words go, I'm a big believer, and I can make up words as I feel. It's my language. As long as people understand what I'm saying, it doesn't matter. My wife gets a kick because sometimes now I actually do it on purpose. Mispronounce words. I'm losing my connection to my monitor over here, which is my lifeline, guys. So bear with me. Anyway, back to the Chiefs and the Bills. I think Mahomes is the X factor, obviously. No brainer, no brainer there. But I think they will. Their defense is underrated, I think. I don't think they've played as well as they played last year when they won the Super Bowl. But I don't think they've played badly. And I think in big spots. Again, I've talked about this before. I think this is an offense that makes their defense better. Because the offense keeps the defense off the field. Mahomes comes up with these big plays. And he got his bell rung for it last year. But he comes up with these big plays where, he's not a running quarterback, but he makes a play in a big spot, gains not just 5 yards, he'll gain 20 or 30. He's got a feel for the game that not a lot have. Now, this is the first time that I'm aware of, that he's had a concussion, and how he reacts to that will be very interesting. But lost my screen entirely, which is going to hurt. My pick here is going to be Kansas City, guys. I like Kansas City. I don't know if we'll get into a shootout area or not, but I think it's going to be a 30-24 game. Just my pick. I think they'll both be close games. I don't see any blowouts, which we often get in these playoff games. But the factors are going to be, how well the Bills can run the ball, or if they even try. And also, I'm still trying to get my monitor back on here, guys, so bear with me. Oh, so frustrating. Well, hang on. Let me do one thing. So anyway, I think those are going to be the factors here, guys, that really keep, we're either going to get our screen back, or I'm going to unhook this and just go to my little screen, which I guess I'm going to do. All right, big screen's out, little screen's in. That's why I got my old glasses on today, guys. Can't see a damn thing without them. Anyway, that's where I see this ending up here. I somehow got on a cold weather ad. Kansas City wins this game. By the way, guys, Andy Reid won a Super Bowl last year for the first time. Very happy with him. I've been harsh on Andy through the years, especially in the games he's played against the Patriots in the playoffs. Clock management was not good. I just realized in this view I cannot see your comments. There we go. I got to go back to a smaller view. I wanted to see myself in live big screen mode, but I can't see your comments. Kansas City's more well-rounded with the Bills running game hurting. Less opportunity for Buffalo to use play action. I agree, Drew. I think the Chiefs will be able to tee off more on Allen, and I guess containing him will be the key for the Kansas City defense, right? If he can't run the ball wild, they're not going to be able to stay on the field and get off, and convert third downs and keep the Kansas City offense off the field. I think that's the key. So I will be all over Kansas City. Now, let me talk real quick before I move on to some other news in the NFL. 3 times in a row now, Kansas City's been in the AFC Championship game under Andy Reid. Andy Reid did it before with Philadelphia. I think went to 4 straight from 2001 through 2004. Only got to 1 Super Bowl. Didn't use some great clock management in some of those games. I thought it's interesting, by the way, in the end of last week's game, that 4th and 1 midfield with a minute 20, minute 10 left, not sure. He doesn't punt the football. He plays to win the game, which is what everybody should do. Bill Belichick's never punting there. Never. Drew is surprised Reid hasn't retired like Rivers did. It was the rest of his comment. I'll put that up after because we're going to talk more about Philip Rivers in a second. But Andy Reid has been beaten up for punting. In one of those championship games against Green Bay back in the early 2000s, he had a similar situation. A little deeper in his own territory, but again, 4th and inches with little time left in the game, and he punts the ball away instead of playing to win the game. I would go for the win there every time. That play call was a little scary, I guess. But, I bring Belichick back in here, Bill, because it's relevant to the conversation. In that situation at midfield, coaches who get fired, punt. Coaches who last 20 years in one place or 20 years in 2 places like Andy Reid and have consistent. I mean, again, I talk about Belichick and Brady being in 13 championship games. Andy Reid's been in 7. Takes some doing to get there. Bills have been in a few, not in a while, though. They're one of the teams to go to 3 straight. back in the 90s. There's a whole list of them here, and it's surprisingly, it's interesting. I mean, the Cowboys have done it like 3 different times. Green Bay's done it 3 different times. San Francisco's done it 3 different times. And some of those are 3 years. Some of those are 4 years. The Raiders, interestingly, only had one run where they did it back in the late 60s to 70, 67 to 70. Rams did it once. I'm sorry, Oakland did it twice, 73 to 77 as well. But you notice a theme in these, the historically great teams, or teams that are doing this. That makes sense. I mean, they're not going to be historically great if they don't get the conference championship games. Mark's right. You play to win the game. You play to win the game. If you punt there, you're playing not to lose. Great call. Chad Henne, too, by the way, 3rd down and 15 or 16, gets all but 1 yard of it on a scramble. Browns win that game if not for that first down, or that maybe that 3rd down scramble is more important than even the 4th down play, to be honest with you. Because if they don't get that much yardage, they are punting the ball away. And Baker Mayfield had played a hell of a game. So anyway, I think Andy Reid, great incentive here as well. Patrick Mahomes, the experience in this type of atmosphere, I think, is what wins it out for the Chiefs. Andy Reid's experience, he's learned from his past mistakes. It's very apparent last year and this year that Andy Reid has found a way to get his team to win games that where they don't play their best, and he's managed the clock much more efficiently. He might have a coach that does that. Teams do that, so it's possible he does. But I think his experience and Patrick Mahomes now being in 3 straight championship games, if Patrick Mahomes is close to Patrick Mahomes, we will do that, Bill. Hold on a second. I touched on it a minute ago. So I'm done talking about Andy Reid. I'm picking Kansas City here to win by 6 points. And the game will probably be right on the number for the over, so be careful. Let's talk about this rule. I agree. And again, about the Bills. One more thing with the Bills. And again, I don't want to take anything away from the Bills. But I'll tell you what. Both the teams they've played up until now, Colts would have beat them. If not for some, if I had hair, I pulled it out if I was a Colts fan. I mean, and I bet the Bills that day, so I'm glad that he did it. But Frank Reich made some oddball calls. For somebody who I think is a really good coach, he made some odd calls in that game. So let's talk about this rule where the Browns fumbled early. I don't know how early in the game it was. I guess it was in the 2nd quarter. Might have been the 3rd quarter. They're driving. They're going into the end zone on a wide run. And I don't remember exactly who was carrying the football right now, but as he gets to the goal line, he fumbles out of bounds through the end zone. As I mentioned before, and I'd love your guys' feedback here, I think the rule stinks. Again, as I mentioned when I brought it up the first time, if you fumble that ball and it goes out of bounds at the 1-inch line, where you get the ball on the 1-inch line. But if you fumble it through the end zone, you get the ball, you lose the football and it goes to the opposition. And if I'm not mistaken, that rule was put in basically because of a play back in the 70s. The holy roller play with Dave Casper kicking the ball down the field. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I guess that doesn't make sense that rule would have been from that. Somebody tried to convince me of that Friday. It doesn't. I don't think it makes sense. I mean, I get it. Maybe, nobody can recover that football except which is another rule. If you fumble it forward that way into the end zone, I think only the guy who fumbled it can recover it. But regardless of all that stuff, just the play itself that happened where they lost the football altogether, I think it's too harsh. It is a touchback for the defense. They get the ball on the 20. Now, maybe you can punish the offense if you want. Push them back to the 20. I mean, they're going to have something, most likely, more often than not, they're going to have some down of, first 20 and goal for 20 on the 20-yard line and goal to go. Second down, third down, fourth down, whatever. But I just feel to lose the ball altogether in that situation, it seems unfair. But the rules are the rules. I've seen it happen to everybody, so it's not like, they did it in a bad spot. Let's talk about some other NFL news. We've got 45 minutes into the show here. More NFL news. I was trying forever, guys, to get some video pulled up for you. The Lions hired Dan Campbell as their coach, which I think is a great move. He played with the Dolphins. He played with the Giants. He played with the Lions. He's been a coach in the NFL now for quite a few years. I believe his last gig was a tight ends coach for the Saints. And he's been interviewed a lot for jobs the last few years and mentioned highly as a up and comer in the head coaching ranks. But I wish I could find the video, guys. Somebody should have got a hold of Dan before his introductory press conference, because, oh my gosh, if you haven't heard it, listen to it. It's just bizarre, If they hit us once, blah, blah, blah. If they hit us twice, we're going to go down. We're going to bite their kneecap on our way up, and then it's going to have to hit us twice as hard. I tried forever to find a cut of the video, and I couldn't find it where it wasn't too long or other people talking over it. And I wanted to play it for you guys this morning because it is just a hilarious. I mean, to be honest with you, it's one of the most bizarre introductory press conferences outside of Adam Gase that I've ever seen. Now, the woman GM was with the Florida Marlins, Bill. Derek Jeter hired the first woman GM in baseball history. So that's outside of football in our purview. But good point. Exciting move by the Marlins there, who are doing some really good things. Back to football. So anyway, Dan Campbell gets hired. He brings in Anthony Lynn, who just got fired as his offensive coordinator. Just got fired by the Chargers. He was the Bills' offensive coordinator before he got that job in San Diego. And one of the, I guess maybe even a bigger announcement is the fact that Matthew Stafford and the Lions have mutually decided to part ways, which we'll talk about in a second. The Eagles hired their new head coach, Nick Sirianni, offensive coordinator for the Colts. Tells me they want to fix Carson Wentz. We'll see. If they think, I really believe. Now that's a good point, Bill. Sorry, Billy's got me jumping around here. There is I believe that there could be a female referee. I can't remember if she's refereeing today or in the Super Bowl. But she's definitely the most high profile NFL referee, female NFL referee. So, it's good to see. Nick Sirianni, you look at the Eagles fans, Jalen Hurts is not the answer there. The answer is fixing Carson Wentz. You can't move Carson Wentz because the dead cap space that's going to cost you is going to cripple you for years. You need to fix Carson Wentz. So, I think it's a good hire for the Eagles, and see if he can fix. It's interesting because one of the interesting things I find about this hire is the fact that if Wentz was moved, the Colts were mentioned prominently as a place where he could go because he worked so well with Frank Reich beforehand, and maybe Sirianni was there previously, and I'm not sure where he came from when he started coaching with Frank Reich. So Jim Bringer, Sarah Thomas, thank you. Yes, Sarah Thomas is working the Super Bowl. Thank you, Jim, and welcome to the show, Jim. Yeah, so I think Philadelphia needs to fix Carson Wentz and not. Gosh, guys, don't put your if you put your eggs in the Jalen Hurts basket, you're gonna be sorry. Great athlete and probably a great football player, athletically wise. He's not going to be a great quarterback. You can use him gimmickly, wildcat, different formations, change up the game. Jack from the Mac and Jack show that I guest on, is in love with this relief quarterback concept, which I don't agree with. But to throw somebody in for a series or two to kind of change the shape of the game is not unheard of. And certainly, I think that Jalen Hurts could offer something in that regard. Well, that leaves only one opening, guys. That's the Texans, who, interestingly enough, interviewed, and they're getting some heat for interviewing Josh McCown this week, who doesn't have any coaching experience, maybe some yeah, Jim, by the way, Jim, hope I say your name right, Jim Byringer. If I mispronounce it, I apologize. As I mentioned, I'm the king of the malaprop here, as my fans can account for. Jim, if you want to put up your show's name, Jim, I'll be glad to share it on the screen. I've been sharing some of Jim's shows and Mark Weiss's shows on my page. I've chatted with them a little bit. I don't know, Jim, if you're aware, I talked to Mark about possibly joining the Northeast Streaming Sports Network. So I hope you guys think about it. Jim has a really good hockey show that he does with Mark Weiss and maybe one other. But I've shared some of those shows to my page, TGI Sports Talk page. So if you want to post the name of the show here, I'll be glad to put it up for you, Jim. Anyway, the Texans have gotten some heat for interviewing Josh McCown, who has no coaching experience except like part-time high school, and he's just getting done being an NFL quarterback. They also interviewed Jim Caldwell. They're waiting for Leslie Frazier to get out of the playoffs to give him a second interview. Here it is. Jim's show, The Last Word on Hockey, on Mad Radio Network. Check them out, guys. It's a lot of fun. If you're a hockey fan, it's a great show. And I know Mark does one too, a baseball show with Mark Littell and some others. Mark, I had on my interview show on Fridays, and Mark was a great guest and certainly a character. But I'm hoping that maybe these guys will chat a little bit more about joining the Northeast Streaming Sports Network. Where was I? Leslie Frazier, Eric Bieniemy still in play. They interviewed Joe Brady, who interviewed everywhere. He's probably not going to get a job. Probably needs a little more seasoning. They interviewed Pat Fitzgerald and some other NFL assistants. Again, I got a feeling that either Bieniemy or I hope Eric Bieniemy gets a shot here, but Andy Reid, Andy Reid being the play caller there probably has held Eric Bieniemy back a bit. Maybe some other factors. Excellent, Jim. Give me I'll send me a message through Facebook. And maybe we can get together with you and Mark. I gave Mark my phone number to call, but if you want to get together with Mark and chat with him about it first, that's fine too. Or you can send me a message and I'll send you my number. So anyway, Bieniemy might be getting hurt by that, and some other stuff that came up on about some long ago allegations, but it's sad. But I think I'll come down to him and Leslie Frazier myself, and I know that that'll excite Rick a lot to know that Leslie Frazier will be back coaching in the league. Before we move on from this, now Matthew Stafford, we talked about a second ago, agreeing to part ways with the Lions, actually is an interesting development because it throws some I don't know if I can play it, Billy. We'll try. I can't quite. Oh, I'm sorry, not Billy. That's Mark. Yeah, I can't copy it out of here. That's my problem. That's all right. I'll post it to the page. We'll have some fun with it. It's one of the most bizarre introductory press conferences, like I said, since the Adam Gase press conference. Back to Matt Stafford. He's still a strong quarterback. He's had really good years, really good numbers, and never got over the hump. Part of that could be because he's just not, at the level of Rodgers and Brady and Breeze. But he's also not been surrounded by the same type of talent. The organization has been a mess over the years. Gosh, I mean, can you think of an organization that has had two players in their prime retire in their prime, like the Lions have had Barry Sanders and Calvin Johnson? I can't. But Matt Stafford would fit in a lot of places. He'd fit in New England, I can tell you that right now. And he's also probably got a team-friendly contract right now. I believe he's got a couple years left in his. I don't agree with the quicksand comments. Matthew Stafford has run the football at different times. Again, not a running quarterback. If you want Lamar Jackson, if you're comparing him to the Lamar Jacksons of the world, well, yeah, he stands in quicksand. So does everybody else. But he's made some big plays over the years, and he's also gotten himself hurt running the football as well. So he probably runs a lot less now. And injuries are definitely going to come into play when teams are evaluating him, because he has been hurt. But he's still only 32 years old, and he's a really good quarterback. And I think the Patriots are going to be interested. I think the team formerly known as the Redskins are going to be interested. The Colts are going to be interested. Probably the Broncos and the 49ers will be interested. 49ers, there's a lot of influx there, guys. Our passing game coordinator, LaFleur's gone now to the Jets. Great move by the Jets, by the way, bringing him in. I like what Salah's doing there. By the way, watch the Dan Campbell introductory press conference and watch Robert Saleh. Tell me and I love Dan Campbell, and I'm being too harsh on him for a 5-minute interview, or a 5-minute clip. 49ers are a bit in flux with the quarterback situation because they don't know what they want to do with Jimmy G. It's going to be hard to move him because he's got a pretty big contract too. Patriots are interested in bringing him back. Now, is he one because of the system? Remember, he threw the ball 8 times, I think, in a Super Bowl last year. So that's one thing that's interesting. We got the Deshaun Watson situation. I still don't think he's going to move. I think at the end of the day, it's going to be too hard. Well, first of all, the Texans want like 3 first-round draft picks is where they're starting the talks, and that's probably going to be a non-starter for most teams, if not all. I think the last guy who got traded for 3 first-round draft picks was Herschel Walker. That worked out great for the Cowboys, not so much for the Vikings. Rick can probably speak to that. I don't think I said Redskins. I said team formerly known as the Redskins. I believe. If I didn't, I'll gladly have the beer. Haven't had a beer in all of 2021, by the way. So anyway, Deshaun Watson, I find it hard he's going to move, especially if the Texans don't move off their boy, Billy, you are all over the place today. I'll put that up here in a second when I talk about. I guess I can fit Larry King into the NFL news here in a second. Deshaun Watson, actually, the word is, I mean, there's 2 teams that are the front runners if he gets traded: Miami and the Jets. And then there's sleepers in the Bears, Panthers, and again, the team formerly known as the Redskins. But the Jets seem to be Watson's preferred destination. I'm torn. Jet fans are torn. They want him, some don't, but some think they're going to get him for a song. You know, when you say you're going to give him up 3 first-round draft picks to get him, one of them most likely is the one you have right now at number 2. So that means Deshaun Watson's your number 2 draft pick. That may not be a bad deal, to be honest with you, but again, weapons around him. I think you've got a quarterback you can fix and draft Devontae Smith. We won't go into that. So anyway, he prefers the Jets. Another problem. Yeah, I know that's how he fits, Bill. I'll bring him up at the end, I promise. Another problem with the trade to Miami is the fact that, you know, the talk has always been Tua going to a Tua plus. Obviously, I would say at least a couple of first-round draft picks if you're trading Tua for Watson. But the problem is the Texans don't see Tua as, and they shouldn't, as adequate replacement for Watson. So, I think given all these factors, it's kind of unlikely that Watson's going to end up moving. Now he's very unhappy with the situation in Houston. For the way the organization moved forward with the general manager hire, the way they're moving forward with the coaching hire, and I'm not saying Deshaun Watson should have a say in this. And I don't want to get into the reasons for his disenchantment with the organization, but if you've read anything about it, it's not hard to figure out. Some other news. I'll jump on this right now so I don't forget. Billy Pulver wants me to mention, and I agree, this should be brought up because he was a play-by-play announcer way back when for the can't find your post here, Bill. Anyway, Larry King passed away of COVID-related circumstances at 87 years old. I was shocked he was only 87. I thought Larry King, I'm sorry, I don't mean to disparage him, but I thought he looked like he was 87 for the last 20 years. So, and he did have some ties to sports. I didn't mean to say he didn't, Bill. As soon as I said it, I realized the Miami connection, but also Billy's got a post here that, King was there it is. Larry King, married 7 times. I guess that's his claim to fame. Larry King was a great broadcaster, man, but if anybody ever came to an interview less prepared than me, it's him. He prided himself on not researching the people he had on the shows. And he certainly wasn't throwing hardballs out there, right? So, but he was a Dolphin announcer, I think in the 70s, maybe before when they were an expansion team in the late 60s. I'm not sure exactly when. But also, Billy mentions the Dodgers, the WWE, and the sports world in general honor Larry King after his death. So, so rest in peace, Larry King. You know, certainly a part of the world's pop culture in our lifetimes, right? So Larry King was a staple for a lot of years. Backing up, Rick mentioned Stafford to the Colts. It's a natural fit, right? Listen, the Colts got an interesting situation. I'm going to talk right now about Phillip Rivers retiring as well in a minute. So they've got an opening. They got Jacoby Brissett, who was a free agent, and did I thought, a good job before they brought in Phillip Rivers, who they thought was going to put him over the top, and it didn't happen. I think Jacoby Brissett's a really good quarterback. I don't know if the Colts think so. I wouldn't be unhappy seeing Jacoby Brissett come back to Foxborough. Maybe you don't give him the starting job, but maybe he fights it out with somebody else because he's going to be cheap. And if the Colts don't think that he's the answer and they don't bring him back, well, then Stafford fits there perfectly. Colts are in a quarterback bind if if they can't bring in a Matthew Stafford, they're not going to be in a position to really draft one of the top guys. Doesn't mean you can't get a quarterback later on, but most of the guys who contribute are getting drafted early, contribute early. So we'll talk about that right now. Philip Rivers announces his retirement this year after, if you remember, his career started in a weird way when Eli Manning was a number one pick with the I'm going to go to Jim's question here in a second. Philip Rivers' career started in a weird way with Eli Manning being the number one draft pick for the Chargers, even though the Manning family, because Archie was running the show for everybody, had said, don't draft him. We're not going there. Well, they engineered a trade. After the Chargers did pick Manning first and the Giants picked Rivers fifth, I think. They engineered a trade where the Chargers got Manning plus some more. I'm sorry, they got Rivers plus some more for Manning. Trade worked out well for both teams. Manning got a couple of Super Bowl rings. Philip Rivers, who was a better quarterback? Again, GOAT versus BOAT. Eli might have been a greater quarterback. He's got 2 Super Bowl rings. But better quarterback? Might have been Philip Rivers. The numbers weigh that out. And Philip Rivers is a tough guy. He played an entire playoff game. I think Billy brought it up here. I don't know if it was here, maybe on a post I posted that he played an entire playoff game. It was at New England. I think it was an AFC championship game, if I'm not mistaken, with a torn ACL. That's pretty tough, guys. That's Jack Youngblood playing in a Super Bowl with a broken leg tough. So I haven't been that high on Philip Rivers all that in my career, or his career. I got to give him kudos. He had a great career. Is he a Hall of Famer? I got to say probably. He didn't make any Super Bowls. He made it to a few AFC championship games, couldn't get over the hump. Made playoffs a lot, put up a lot of really nice looking numbers, but the game warrants that too today. So I think he's a borderline Hall of Famer. I think he'll probably make it. I don't think I'd get all worked up. Jim's got a question. Have we seen the last games of the 2004 draft class? 2004 was the year. Thank you. I was having trouble coming up with that year, Jim. I think Big Ben, I think there's a pretty good chance Big Ben will retire. He's not going to go somewhere else. And I'm not certain the Steelers aren't ready to move on from him. Now, the problem is there, again, you don't have any other options. And if Ben wants to come back, I don't see them moving him or cutting him, I don't think. But I think it was pretty obvious. You talk about quicksand, Bill Pulver. There's a guy who stands in quicksand, but he's a tough guy, man. You can't bring him down. But he's taken a beating over his career. A lot of miles on him. Like anybody from the 2004 draft class, it's 17 years ago. Billy thinks Big Ben strikes midnight. Billy's good with the puns today. Well, as a rule. Very witty, Bill. It's back to Jim's question. I think it's entirely possible Big Ben has played his last game. I really do. He's had a great career. Again, I haven't been a big fan of his over the years. I mean, playing-wise, again, no tougher opponent. Patriots and Steelers had some big games through the years. Big games. And I got to tell you, while the Patriots came out more often than not on top, Big Ben was quite a competitor. Got some issues off the field, obviously, but, so do a lot of guys. Big Ben won 2 Super Bowls. That's a difference between, see, there you go. And you bring it up. It's a great question, Jim, because when you put those 3 guys together, because they're all kind of tied together, right, at the top of that draft. Who had the better career? Who was the better quarterback? Rivers has the numbers. Big Ben didn't have the numbers till later in his career when they became more of a passing team, the Steelers, as the game changed. But Phillip Rivers got the numbers without looking at them specifically. I know he's got the numbers over Eli. But Ben and Eli have 2 Super Bowl rings. How do you judge your quarterbacks? I mean, I judge the greatest of all time by quarterback rings. Okay, Tom Brady's the GOAT. That's all there is to it. But there's the boats. I love that term now. They're best. These guys are some of the best quarterbacks of all time. 1 Super Bowl kind of leaves you in that spot. 2 gets you a little bit different recognition. So congratulations to Phillip Rivers on a great career, and I wish him luck. If he gets in the Hall of Fame, I won't say, oh no, there's no way he can be there. If he doesn't make it, I'm okay with that too. For Jim, Ben Eli Rivers is his order, but you know what? And I would probably agree with that. We do usually, but do it by rings, as I said, and Rivers has got 0. So every one of them, you're right. Every one of them had their pluses. You know what? I'll be honest with you, though. Part of me wants to put Eli at the back of that class. And again, I try to separate my anti-Giant bias from this conversation. If you look at Eli's career, tough guy, played in a ton of games in a row, 250, 270. I don't know what the number is. Doesn't matter. Tough guy. Came to play every week. Didn't always play well. Didn't always play in good teams. But I can't, again, there's a comment made. This is probably too harsh, but I'll repeat it. This was the analysis of a respected NFL insider. This is a few years back, reflecting on Eli's career before he retired, maybe a year or 2 before he retired. That Eli Manning, when you look at the totality of his career, he's basically Jay Cutler with 2 fluke Super Bowl victories. Probably a little harsh, but, well, there you go. Bill says he steps up when the time is right. Yeah, well, he also put their back to the wall. And Rick says without the Giant defense, Eli is average at best. I don't disagree. His numbers are really pedestrian for the way the game is played now and was played at the end of his career. Look at the game was played differently when Rivers and Roethlisberger and Manning were drafted, right? Running the football was much more predominant. The passing game was not as prolific as it is today in most places. So Big Ben's numbers really skyrocketed over the second half of his career. Eli's really kind of was, he never had these big, outstanding years. Did he play good on the big stage? To go back to Billy's number, yeah. 2 horrible Sundays in my life. If they're the worst 2 days of my life, I did pretty good, right? But 2 horrible Sundays in my life, he played well. He played great. I don't know that it was all Eli Manning. He had 2 great defenses, or he has no Super Bowl rings, to Rick's point. So anyway, it's a debate we can go on about forever. I don't want to do that. Jesus, it's already 10:15. We're not going to get into everything we got to cover today again. Good comeback, though. Goodbye play. Listen, a couple of throwaway notes here. Super Bowl will have 22,000 fans in attendance. Wonderful move here by the NFL, and the fact that 7,500 of those will be healthcare workers who have been vaccinated, and they're going for free. I don't think they're paying their airfare, so they're likely to be people in the Tampa area. But I mentioned here a long time ago that, if and they've decided to allow 22,000 and a 68,000, I think 68,000 or so is the capacity of Tampa Stadium. By the way, that's something I didn't mention in the Tampa Bay game. Tampa has a chance to be the first team to play at home in the Super Bowl. So anyway, I think that's a great move on the NFL's part. I said a while back, if they weren't going to get any revenue, that they should find the healthcare workers and test them, and I think it was and vaccinate them and fill the stadium with healthcare workers for free, if you could do it safely. But at least they're making some kind of effort here. In 20, better than 25% of the attendance will be healthcare workers for free. And then the NFL Combine. Big news there. There isn't going to be an NFL Combine as we know it. There will be a Combine, but no mass attendance in Indianapolis. All the workouts will be individually held at college campuses. So pro days, individual pro days. The video will be available to all the teams. It's not the same thing, guys. The interviews will all be virtual. And I can tell you, working in management, I'm not sure where Rick's comment fits in here, but I can tell you, working in management and having a position open at present and doing interviews virtually, it's not the same as sitting across from somebody. So it's going to be harder to get get a read on a guy's makeup and whatnot, and also the medical testing. These guys come into these teams come into that camp. Billy wants to know if Rick's post is from months ago. These teams come into this camp and they have specific medical tests they want to run on guys to make sure that they're healthy. They don't have knee problems. They don't have arm problems. They don't have head problems. It's going to be a little harder to do that in this situation, but that's what COVID has wrought us. So it'll be interesting. Also, a lot of, not gathering also affects movement among players, because a lot of trade talk and free agent talk happens during the combine. Coaches, a lot of coaches there looking for jobs. So, I see. Rick is talking about the Vikings could have played at home. Agreed. They had a shot. A few other teams have had a shot through the years, and it didn't happen. So, guys, that's it for the NFL right now. I'm going to move on to Major League Baseball, chat a little bit about what's going on there. I may go through this a little bit quicker than I wanted to, because I do want to get into a couple other things, especially with college basketball, and open up our year really for college basketball. Major League Baseball, probably the biggest news this week was the mess. I had Ed Lynch as my guest on Friday. Ed played with the Mets during the horrible early 80s. Watch the interview. Ed was a great guest, by the way. But we talked a little bit. I don't think we talked during the interview, but we talked beforehand about the Jared Porter situation. And neither one of us could figure out. Again, to me, it's the same old Mets. You got a new owner, and there's supposed to be a new a whole new culture around the team. And what's next week? Same old Mets. Who does the background checks for these guys? Jared Porter was sending lewd texts, 2-3 years ago, and it was fairly well known, but the Mets don't know this, and they don't think it's going to get out once he comes to New York with the New York press. Guys, what? This falls on Sandy Alderson. I just don't get it. I don't get how this happens. On a Major League Baseball level, you can't vet guys better than to find out he's had sexual harassment charges against him 3 years ago with evidence like phone texts and lewd photos, and it wasn't a secret. He'd admitted to it, and whatever. I just don't get it. Well, I'll end it with that. Other sad news I mentioned at the top of the show, Henry Aaron passing. Guys, no more classy individual ever played the game of baseball than Henry Aaron. please watch the vlog I did yesterday. I talked about Hank Aaron a lot, but I also talked about some of the others that we've lost here in this last year. Just a classy individual and just amazing perseverance, what he had to put up with during that home run chase in 1974. Well, more than 74, the years leading up to it. The Mets are like the Jets. Every you get excited, then history jumps in. You missed a letter there, Bill. Where's my word police here? Different news. The Jays signed Springer. The Mets wanted George Springer. The Jays beat him to him. 6 years, $150 million. This feels a lot different than the DJ LeMahieu signing, who I think is a better ball player than George Springer, by the way. Similar ages. He's 31, Springer. I think LeMahieu's 32. But I'm not sure George Springer is going to play as well on the back end of this. Well, there's a lot more on the back end of this contract than DJ has, right? There's going to be, $25 million, $50 million in the last 2 years, let's say. I'm rounding up. But the Mets were probably wise not to sign George Springer. There's still some options out there, and Ozuna and some other guys. And if they have to stick with what they have, they can put the money into Conforto's extension and things like that. But the Jays are all in, guys. The Jays are really all in. They'd already brought in Kirby Yates. They'd already brought in Tyler Chatwood, which is not a big name, but it's kind of a good piece to the puzzle. They're still talking about bringing another pitcher in, maybe James Paxton. I meant Jums. What's a Jum, Bill? Anyway, so they're still looking for another starting pitcher, and there's a few out there, guys. There's still a lot of free agents hanging out there. Trevor Bauer's still out there, but now some stuff have come out with some comments that he's had on the dark web, and I don't know. These guys are nuts. They're still looking in Hand. Drew had commented the Mets were still interested in Brad Hand as well. A really good left-handed reliever, and he's probably going to get a pretty good contract. The Mets should really be looking hard at him, I think. But the Blue Jays seem to be in play for him, as well as still a shortstop. Gregorius, Simmons, a guy I wish the Yankees had gotten. He's a great defensive player. And they need now. I don't think they can do it, especially if they're keeping Luke Voit. I don't think they can move Torres off shortstop now. Well, small amounts of crack cocaine or heroin sold on the street. Jums. I don't know that that's exactly what you meant, Bill. So anyway, the Jays really want to make a splash, and the Jays are in a position here to really maybe shake up the AL East. The Yankees still got some holes. We talked about it last week, guys, and nothing's changed this week. They don't have a lot of money to spend. They are in talks with the Pirates about Jameson Taillon, who's got some injury problems. But again, $2 million contract. I think, if they decide and they don't have to give up much in assets, he's probably worth a shot because there are nothing but question marks right now behind Garrett Cole. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens there. Some other signings. The Twins signed A.J. Happ. Goodbye, A.J. Happ. As a Yankee fan, not upset about seeing that happen. I'm not sure if I can keep sharing your guys' comments, but I will because they're funny. San Diego, they continue, just like I talked about the Jays in the AL East. Well, San Diego is all in and chasing down the Dodgers. It already made some big moves, bringing in Snell, Darvish, Now they trade for Joe Musgrove in a 3-way deal with the Pirates and the Mets, involving a lot of young kids that you guys won't recognize the names, so I'm not going to bore you with them. But guys, San Diego's loaded right now. Loaded. It's going to be very interesting. The Phillies signed Archie Bradley. White Sox with a nice move, picking up Liam Hendricks. Really good pitcher from the A's. Red Sox signed Garrett Richardson. Not excited about that. Enrique Hernandez they signed, who was a really productive player with the Dodgers, but Red Sox think he might be their everyday second baseman. That could be a problem. Nationals re-signed Ryan Zimmerman. Can't get excited about that. The Angels signed Jose Quintana. Astros signed Castro. That's really the news in Major League Baseball. We're going to be diving a lot more into Major League Baseball as we go forward, as I said. Still a little early. A lot of free agents still out there. Camps are opening up in just a couple of weeks. It's very interesting that there's this much. I'm not posting any more drug references this morning, Bill. And my last note on Major League Baseball is I want to just mention and send out my best wishes to Davey Johnson, who the ex-Met manager, managed the Dodgers, the Reds, the Orioles. All he ever did was win wherever he went. Great manager and a bit underrated in my mind. But he's battling COVID. He's in the hospital battling COVID. Not a young man, so my best wishes go out to Davey Johnson, and I hope that he can recover fully. By the way, Davey Johnson was a really good defensive second baseman when he played, too. People forget that. They remember his managerial career, and we don't touch a lot on that. NBA. I don't know how much I want to really chat about the NBA here, but let's just take a quick look at it. I had a vlog on Friday night, guys, talking about the NBA and the Knicks and the Nets. You can check that out. I'll touch on it a little bit here. The Knicks have, since I talked them up a couple of weeks ago, they went out and lost 5 in a row after that. And then they come back and they beat the Celtics by 30. So now in this year where they're 8-9 and been very up and down, they beat the Bucks by 40 and the Celtics by 30. Two of the best teams in basketball. Certainly definitely two of the best teams in basketball. So they went on a 3-game winning streak. They got back to 500, and they lost the other night to Sacramento, unfortunately. They're in the middle of a tough 4-game road trip, as I mentioned again in the vlog. Check the vlog out. I try to talk a little bit about, where each team was and who I saw better off going forward. I think the Knicks going forward are going to be in a better position than the Nets. That's just my gut feeling. So the Knicks, again, up and down. Now they're on a 1-game losing streak after winning 3 in a row, after losing 5 in a row. It's going to be that kind of season. But I think they can hover around that 500 mark and be in a playoff conversation. They could bring in a veteran here later on in the season. But they're getting better. And the guys on the team are getting better. And it puts them in a better position to bring in better players for free agency, as long as they're willing to put up with James Dolan as the owner. That's another conversation for another day. But I think the Knicks are making great progress. Julius Randle playing great every night. He's already got a bunch of double-doubles. And he's averaging 20, 22, 11, and 7 assists. Great player. Right now, he's consistent. He goes out and does it every night. So the Knicks are kind of really at the mercy of how well RJ Barrett plays, who's, by the way, improving greatly over his rookie year. But he still throws up some nights where he cannot put the ball in the basket. And that's, where the Knicks are struggling, when he can't get the ball in the hoop. So anyway, and there's some other factors, and you can watch the vlog. I don't want to eat up all my time here talking about that again. So check out the vlog. But I also talked about the Knicks and the James Harden trade. Another piece of big news here in New York. I'm not convinced this is the right thing to do, but maybe it's not Harden that's the problem. And I talk about this in the vlog as well. You put big three together. Durant and Harden had played together before. Played well in Oklahoma, and Westbrook was the third wheel there. Well, Harden was the third wheel. Really, it was Westbrook and Durant. But now you got three guys on a team that need the ball in their hand. Harden's talked really a lot about, changing his game and being a distributor, and he's done it since he got here. We'll see if it continues, if the losing continues. I mean, they lost 2 straight to the Cavs this week before they finally won. The big three playing together lost 2 in a row to the Cavs before they finally won last night. And Harden only had 12 points, but 11 assists. Kyrie had the big shot at the end, but Kyrie is the problem in this whole thing. Either this experiment is going to go off great guns and they're going to become a power in the East and be a contender for the championship the next couple years, or it's going to implode and be just ugly. And if it implodes and it's ugly, to me, the most likely place that's going to come, because I think James Harden may be sincere in saying, I want to fit in and I want to move the basketball and I want to put us in the best position to win. The problem is Kyrie Irving. He's already worn out his welcome on 2 really good basketball teams. Well, Cleveland was good while he was there, but he couldn't get along with LeBron James, only the best player in the game, maybe the best player ever to play. He couldn't get along with the players and the coach in Boston, a really good team. And he's had problems since he's been with the Nets, since he got here. Now he just got through missing 5 games. Can't remember the number now. I had it in my vlog. Might have been 8 games. Nets didn't even dock him his pay until after 5 games. You can't just walk away. I don't care. He hasn't really given his reasons. He was upset about everything that happened at the Capitol that Wednesday afternoon, and I don't blame him. I mean, I'm too, and I'm not going to talk about political stuff on his show, but I don't care if he's unhappy. I don't care about these guys protesting and using their platform, to move forward whatever cause they might be interested in. I'm okay. It doesn't bother me. I can separate sports and that, and I don't have a problem. What I have a problem with is a guy who decides not to show up to work. It would be unacceptable in my world if I had somebody do that. It's disruptive to the team, hurts your teammates, it's disruptive to the fans. It's not fair to anybody. The organization, the players, and the fans. What do you expect? It's a guy who thinks the earth is flat. I said in my vlog, I hope I don't offend all those flat earthers out there, but guys, the earth's not flat. I'm virtually certain. I'm not a scientist. I'm pretty sure the earth's not flat. And how a guy gets a Duke education, basketball player or not, and comes out of there thinking the earth is flat, there's your problem. The leader of your team thinks the earth is flat. That's the least of his problems. I move on. I digress. Let's look at the standings quick. Any big surprises I got here? I'll tell you what, Doc Rivers has the Sixers playing great basketball. Tremendous basketball. 12-5. The Bucks are starting to right the ship a bit, but they're kind of up and down at 9-6. They'll probably get it together and go on a run. Billy says basket weaving 101, or Rick says basket weaving 101. You don't take basket weaving 101 at Duke. Even the athletes have got to have more smarts than what Kyrie Irving has to get out of Duke or to get into Duke. Don't know if he got his degree or not. College sports is what it is, and a lot of these universities have lowered their standards, but to get into Duke, you still got to have more brains than to think the frickin' earth is flat. Gosh. What else in the East? Everybody's kind of bundled up. The Pacers 9-6, the Celtics 9-6 or 8-6. The Nets are 10-8. The Knicks are actually in the last playoff spot right now at 8-9. And again, there's a lot of teams that are between 9-6 and 6-9. So not a lot to really dissect there, until we start to see some separation. We'll talk more about it. In the West, Lakers, no surprise, at 13-4. They've only got the best player in basketball still. And the Jazz are a bit of a surprise to me at 12-4. They got a really good basketball team, but I'm a little surprised they're 12-4. They lost to the Knicks, by the way. Again, the Knicks have beat some really good teams. If you're a Knicks fan, you should be excited about the potential of what's going to happen here in the future. Tom Thibodeau's a great coach. Changing the culture. Talk about changing the culture. Change a culture there overnight. Play hard every night. They play great defense most nights. They had a little fallback during that 5-game losing streak. He talked about needing to get back in the gym and practice. And I didn't say he graduated from Duke, actually, Rick. I said I don't know that he did, but to get into Duke, you can't just be a knucklehead. You just can't be. You've got to have some academic foundation to get into Duke. I don't care if you're a basketball player or not. You do. So how do you get out of there thinking the earth is flat? I can't get off Kyrie Irving. Oh my God. I wake up at night thinking, what is wrong with these guys? So anyway, you got the Clippers and the Jazz at 12-4 out west. And then now you got a bunch of teams, bottlenecked at 8-6, 9-7, 7-6, 8-8. The Golden State has got the Mavericks have the last spot, it looks like right now. Again, way too early to talk about playoff positioning. But one thing that really stands out to me too is I find it unfortunate to look at the state of the Spurs and a great coach like Greg Popovich. I don't think he's ever going to go coach somewhere else. His age and I think the fact that he's been a lifer, almost a lifer with the Spurs. I don't see him moving anywhere, but I wouldn't doubt that he's going to step down soon. Because they are not the dominant team that they were before, and it's hard to do that in the NBA today. It's hard to do what the Spurs did for, a decade or better than a decade, probably. I do believe, Rick, that that Kyrie Irving has an honorary degree in the flat Earth theory. Kyrie could come to my house, give me his presentation and his dissertation of why the earth is flat, and he could not convince me in a million years that he's not the craziest human being on the face of the earth. Or one of them. Sorry, I shouldn't probably give him the distinction of being the craziest. So anyway, that's kind of my take on the NBA today. And lastly, today I want to jump into the NCAA basketball season. We haven't talked about it at all. There's been a lot of disruption with COVID. A lot of teams, there's some weird stuff in the standings and the records, as we'll talk about it. I want to go through the rankings a little bit, talk about some of the surprises and disappointments. And I'm going to try to look through some of the major conferences a little bit. Maybe we'll talk about the local schools a little bit too as we go through here. I'm going to have to do it a little quicker than I wanted. It's already 20 minutes to 11. But let's take a quick look at the rankings. Not a lot of surprises at the top, guys. I can tell you that. Going into the year, we knew Gonzaga was going to be a really, really good team, as they have been year in and year out. What a great job Coach Few's done out there. That's no longer a mid-major, man. They are a national power. National power. They're 14-0, and they beat some really good teams in that 14-0. They're not It's not a cupcake schedule they've played by any means. I mean, their league isn't the best league in the world, but they've gone out of conference and beat some really good teams. Baylor's 12-0 at number 2. Got a couple of first place votes in the AP poll, a couple in the coaches poll. Some of the other surprises, maybe, well, Iowa's ranked high, but they're 12-2, and I really like Iowa. I love Fran McCafferty from, I just loved what he did with this Siena team here locally in Albany. And he's done a really good job at Iowa. It's a tough league, the Big Ten, to compete in, and he's done a great job, and he's really got a good team this year. Texas, bit of a surprise at 11-2. Shaka Smart almost lost his job last year, and now he's at 10. He's at 11-2. Tennessee's 10-1. Michigan 11-1, but unfortunately, the really big news in college basketball today is that Michigan has shut down all sports and everything on campus for the next 14 days, as they've had a massive COVID outbreak in Michigan, the state of Michigan, with the mutated strain, for lack of a better term. So the season's up in the air there. Houston's 11-1. UCLA's 11-2. Maybe making a little bit of a comeback. It's early in the year, and these things change. And some of these teams have played a lot of games. Some of them haven't played a lot. Who else did I have down as possible? That pretty much covers my really good surprises. The bad surprises? North Carolina and Duke. Neither one ranked in the top 25 for the first time that I can remember. I shouldn't say there's been times where both of them, one or the other, has been out of the top 25. But neither one of them is ranked in the top 25. Duke's just 5-5. Coach Krzyzewski's really getting a little short in some of his press conferences I've seen recently. One yesterday. It's prompted some conversation on some of the sites that I follow. Kentucky, good call there, Chris. Actually, I would have gotten to them, but when I went through the standings a bit, but Kentucky's a huge disappointment. And again, I guess that's part of Coach Calipari's mindset there is he brings all these kids in and he knows they're going to be one and done. Even the kids that sit the bench are one and done in that organization, and you're going to, at some point, have a down year or some down years. And, they haven't been as dominant the last few years with that practice. So, yes, good call, Chris Mathewson. Kentucky is also a huge disappointment this year. Kansas, well, I won't call them a disappointment. They suddenly have lost 3 in a row to really kind of put their season in jeopardy. Let's look a little bit. I want to look a little bit at some of the leagues. And I'm going to skip over some of the leagues that aren't, the bigger conferences. I'll touch on the local leagues. The American East, we have some interest locally because of UAlbany again, some starts and stops with COVID issues. They're 3-4 in the league, 3-6 overall. They're struggling, and it's probably going to be a tough year. It looks like for UAlbany, and as usual, Vermont Catamounts are up at the top of that league, along with UMBC, who we all know beat Tennessee in the first round of the tournament here a few years back. So great job there. The AAC, the league I love so much in football. They got a good basketball league too. Houston's 11-1, ranked 8th in the country. SMU's at 8-2 and 4-2 in the conference. Wichita State, after having to get rid of their coach. I mean, I was shocked at the Marshall allegations there. I mean, there was no hint of this that I was aware of, unless I was just missing a boat. And all these years that he's built this program up. Remember the year they went into the NCAA tournament undefeated, not 5 years ago? No. It might be longer ago than that now. 6 or 7 years ago, maybe. But look at, he's made that a perennial contender, and there was no hint of those allegations of abuse going on. Unfortunately, it cost him his job. The A10, I'll give a shout out here just because of my St. Bonaventure kind of being a local school out west. They're 6-1, 8-1 overall. There's a strange anomaly in is it this league? Where's St. Louis played? I don't think it's this league. Yeah, hopefully we'll come across it. Anyway, the Bonnies are playing really good basketball. 8-1 overall, 6-1 in the league. Playing great. UMass playing better. 4-1 in the league. Oh, St. Louis Billikens. That's who I'm thinking of. They haven't won a game. They haven't played a game in the league. They're ranked 25th in the country. They've played 8 games. They're 7-1, but they haven't played a game in the league. This is the kind of weird stuff. I've gone live now on NESIP, Northeast Streaming Sports, as we wrap up today's show. So anyway, some of these weird anomalies that we've seen in college basketball this year. This is one of the weirdest that I've seen, is that St. Louis has not played a single, 25th ranked St. Louis has not played a single league game. And they're, as I said, 25th in the country. They've played 8 games, 7-1 out of conference. Really weird. ACC. Very odd to see, Duke and North Carolina, in the bottom half of this league or close to it. Virginia's at 6-0, 10-2 overall, strong as they've been under Tony Bennett for a while. Florida State we knew would be good. They're 9-2 overall, 5-1 in the conference. Virginia Tech maybe a bit of a surprise at 11-3. Louisville 10-3. This league's strong. Syracuse, from a local standpoint, struggling a bit. 3-3 in the league, 9-4 overall. Jim Boeheim has a way of getting teams better as a year goes on. So I think we can, see that this team might get better as we go on. Clemson's ranked 20th in the country, but they're about 10th in the league. 3-4, 9-4 overall. I think they're probably the team that's still ranked in the top 25 that is probably doing the worst in their specific conference. The Big 12, strong as we knew it would be, but a little bit different look to it. Baylor at the top, 14-0, 7-0 in a conference. We talked about Texas and Shaka Smart almost losing his job. They're 11-2, 5-1 in conference. Oklahoma with a bit of a resurgence, 9-4, 5-3 in conference. Texas Tech has had some good teams recently. They're ranked 12th in the country, 11-4. West Virginia is 14th in the country, 10-4. Kansas, until their recent struggles, were 10-2. They were playing really well, and they've fallen. They'll probably fall out of the top 10 this week. And then you've got the bottom dwellers. Oklahoma State's a team that stands out at the bottom there. They had a pretty good run for quite a few years. The Big East, Villanova continues to be at the top of that league, or always around the top of that league. Jay Wright's a great coach. A little surprised he hasn't jumped to the NBA, but Jay Wright's a great coach. Creighton is 11-4, ranked 11th. Seton Hall, kind of up and down. I thought Seton Hall would be better than they are, 9-6 and 6-3. I missed the Big Ten. There's something I want to point out in the Big Ten. I don't know if I missed them or they haven't come up yet. I guess they just haven't come up. Okay. Where else? You get UConn ranked in the top 25. They're 7-3, 4-3 in the league. Marquette's struggling, the team I like to follow. My guest next Friday, by the way, Tom Keegan, sports writer Tom Keegan, is a graduate of Marquette. We had a nice conversation about Lloyd Walton and some of the guys I've had on the show. St. John's is a bad story there. I thought really they might turn the corner this year. Coach Anderson, I thought, had brought in a pretty good recruiting class. They're 9-7 overall, but just 3-6 in the league. and they just can't get over the hump, and it's a shame. But hopefully they do get it back here at some point. Big Sky, not that interested in. Nothing, nothing really stands out there. If there's somebody you are interested in, or a conference you are interested in, or a team you're interested in, jump in and let me know. We'll chat a little about them. But some of these leagues right now, until the leagues start to play more games and you get somebody really undefeated from one of these, a long winning streak from one of these smaller conferences, it's easier to concentrate on them. Big Ten, Michigan at the top of that league at 13-1 overall, 6-1, 8-1 in the league. 8-1 in the league, but now they're shut down for 14 days. Who knows what that's going to do to the season? We don't know that the season won't be, disrupted. I mean, the whole season's been disrupted, and it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. Now, remember, the tournament now is going to be played in one location when we get to March. If it gets played, it's going to all be played in Indianapolis, I believe. Every team will play there. There'll be a bubble situation. And it's going to be a much different NCAA tournament than we're used to. But you know what? I think there could be some element of fun to that, too. It's going to be hard. You're not going to have all these games going on at one time, right, that you're used to. But we'll see. Second in that league at the Big Ten is Iowa, as I mentioned before. Fran McCafferty doing a great job there. I love Fran McCafferty. He did a great job at Siena here, and he's continued to do a really solid job at Iowa. And you got Wisconsin and Illinois. Illinois is a bit of a disappointment. They were ranked really high early in the year. They're 10-5, 6-3 in the league. They've fallen to 22nd in the country. Lots of time to make that up. Indiana still not able to get over the hump. Got a lot of teams bumped in the middle here. You got Minnesota at 17th in the country and ranked in the bottom half of the Big Ten. Really, the big disappointment in the Big Ten for me is Rutgers. Rutgers is 7-6, 3-6 in the league. Last year was really sad. They had a really good team last year. They were playing great going into the tournament, and then COVID wiped everything out. So I feel bad for teams like Rutgers and Dayton, who we didn't even talk about. So they're likely, nowhere near where they were last year. Big West, not really interested in. Colonial Conference. You do have Northeastern at 7-0 in the league, but, they're 8-5 overall. Conference USA. Western Kentucky's out to a 12-4 start. Blazers of UAB are 12-2. No ranked teams. Horizon League, no ranked teams. They're one of those leagues that sometimes gets a team, on a roll in the tournament. Cleveland State years ago beating Indiana, for instance. So you never know what's going to happen come tournament time with some of these smaller leagues. The Metro Atlantic Conference, from a local standpoint, Siena had their first loss the other night, but they're still 7-1 in the conference. All they've played is conference games. They didn't play a game for, felt like 2 months. They didn't play a game because of COVID concerns. One of the really big stories, and I've wanted to do a vlog about it, and I wanted to get into it on the show, and I haven't had the opportunity, is Iona and Rick Pitino coming to Iona. I talked to Dick Weiss about it when I had him on the show. He thought it was a great move. I like the move for Iona. Rick Pitino, you can think whatever you want of Rick Pitino, but he's a great coach. And I think this is Rick Pitino's last stop. And I think he might build a really good team here in Iona in the next couple of years, because they've got, there's a recruiting base there that they can really pull some good kids from. Iona's had some good teams over the years. And I think Rick Pitino can turn that team into a team that can compete, come tournament time. So that's the top of that conference. Really interested in the Mid-American, Mid-Eastern Conference. Not much to talk about. Missouri Valley, Drake is 13-0, not ranked. You might see some of them jumping up. This is another league that'll often have a team that plays well come tournament time. You remember Loyola Chicago playing well. In fact, they're 11-3 right now, 6-1 in the conference. So Evansville has had good teams here and there throughout the years. They're struggling a bit this year. Valparaiso, another team that's done well come tournament time, struggling this year. Mountain West, Nothing stands out there. Boise State's 13-1, 9-0 in the conference. Surprisingly, not known as a basketball school. They're a football school. Actually playing two different conferences, or are about to play in two different conferences. They're probably going to be moving in football, and I don't know about basketball, to the AAU. We don't care about that one. Sorry, guys, if I say I don't care. We'll cover a lot of these conferences. Pac-12, as I mentioned, UCLA, a big surprise, 12-3 overall, 8-1 in the conference, ranked 24th in the country, and playing really good basketball. USC, a bit of a surprise out there, 12-3 in overall, 6-2 in the conference. Colorado's playing good basketball. Oregon, who we expected to do well, 8-3. Arizona, 11-3, 5-3 in the conference. Still those allegations following them around. What did Miller do? What didn't he do? We're going to find out. The Arizona's Blue Devils Sun Devils are probably one of the bigger disappointments out there with Hurley being the coach. They're 4-7 overall, 1-4. He's probably going to find himself in trouble here. Southeast Conference, we mentioned the surprising Kentucky Wildcats, 5-9 overall. 5-9 overall. 4-3 in the conference, not ranked, not even close to being ranked. Alabama surprisingly leading the way here, 13-3, 6-0, 8-0 in the conference. Missouri, usually a pretty good program, 10-2, 4-2 overall. And you get kind of cramped up. You got LSU, Florida, Tennessee, all ranked together, 5-3, 5-3, 4-3. Kentucky's probably the big disappointment there. Auburn, I would say, is a big disappointment there. They're only 9-7, 3-5 in the league. That's probably another surprising development there as well. Southern Conference. We'll talk about some of these other conferences as we get closer to, tournament time, both conference tournaments and the NCAA. Southwestern Atlantic, not so much. Summit League, Sun Belt, not much to talk about there. West Coast Conference, Gonzaga, 15-0. But guys, let's not forget. Let's look at some of the teams they played and beat. Kentucky, who's down, I get that. Auburn, West Virginia, Baylor. Oh, that was postponed. Sorry. That would have been a great matchup. They beat Iowa. They're in the top 10. They beat Virginia. They're number 16. They beat a decent BYU team in their own league. So look at it. It's not like these guys are playing, a cupcake out of conference schedule. Gonzaga's a real thing. They're going to be tough. Could be looking at their first, they played for a national championship a couple years ago and lost to North Carolina, but they could be looking at their first shot at really, getting into a position where they can win a national championship. So that's kind of the look. I'll mention the Western Athletic Conference only because Grand Canyon Antelopes are in first place, 10-3 there. The head coach there is Dan Marley, former Phoenix Sun, Miami Heat. He's been the coach there for a while. He's doing a really good job. So congrats to Coach Marley. Keep that train rolling. So that's all I got today, guys. 11 o'clock. We covered a lot of stuff. What do we got going today? Football. Brady. Aaron Jones. I'm taking Aaron Jones over Brady. In the battle of the young guns, I'm taking Mahomes. I'm taking Mahomes with a concussion and turf toe and all to beat the Buffalo Bills. Gonna be a great day of football, guys. 3:05 kickoff for the first game. I'm going to see you here Friday. We'll be talking about Tom Lasorda, Dick Allen, Henry Aaron, maybe some of the other great players we've lost recently with Tom Keegan, sports writer who's covered all of these guys through his career. And we'll be here next Sunday as well. Keith Engel, TGI Sports Talk. Hope to see you Friday, 8 a.m. live. Right here on the NESIP network, by the way. Northeast Streaming Sports. Talk to you soon. Yes, Rick, we will do a TGI bracket, I promise.